morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I am Tamara Johnson Shealey. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is Saturday. It is April the 25th, and Georgia has reopened. I have a robust conversation, I can assure you. I'm sure we'll have opinions from everywhere, insight from everywhere. So let's see where my trusty co-host is this morning. Let's see where Mr. David is.
Good
Hi.
morning. Good morning, Tamara.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I'm uh, at the brink of hysteria
Oh Lord.
about this Governor Kemp's order to reopen. Um, got some reports on that, and it's it's just about as insane as anything you know could be. That's all I got to say about it for now. Um, there are something like 22,000 identified cases, which means there are at least twice as many that are out there. 900 deaths so far. It's in every county in Georgia, um, and it's in 20 jails and prisons across the state. Across the state, it's not one location. Um, the prime vectors are the guards who go home every night, and people in jails who cycle through, you know, 5-10% of them every day, uh, and nursing homes. Nobody knows how many nursing homes are infected, although across the country they're one of the hot spots. Um, and not just nursing homes and long-term care facilities, but there's also these small group homes for seniors that I don't know if anybody knows anything about them. 6, 7, 8 seniors in a group home, and then there are the meat processing plants, of which we've got an enormous number in this state, and they have been hotspots all over the country. So we are really getting ready for, and he says go swimming, go to gyms, and go to beauty salons and you know it's I really do not I can't even get my head wrapped around what this uh, what this guy is thinking. He looks like he's got no light behind his eyes, when you watch him. And of course, he doesn't know. I mean, he didn't even know that you could spread the virus without having symptoms. So, it is really, really nuts. And that's what I got to say. I know you've talked about how people are desperate to get to work, um, but we have to think about this in a more structural way. Um,
So David, let me ask you, what
yeah,
about people who have not received unemployment benefits, or people that have not gotten stimulus money, people
that,
who are getting these loans and these grants, and people that have to feed their families?
I hear you. I understand that. If this thing, if the coronavirus overwhelms us, and it looks like it could do that here in Georgia, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I mean, it's as simple as that. So it's true.
But for some people, this is death, like not being able to feed their family, not being able to provide.
I
You
I
know, that
I
is
get
death.
you. I get you, but that there's what everybody that has any sense is saying, um, is that if you open the economy and there is another wave of the economy is going to close down anyway. The real issue here is that in particularly in the southern states, right to work, low unions, an extremely fragile safety net for people, just in general. That's the issue that's involved. Um, and this the there it I know it's structural, and I know it's very, very difficult for us to address these kind of structural issues. But where um, uh, I don't have a simple answer. I mean, that it's clear that there's um, a tremendous stress, but the people who are getting bailed out are the ones who always get bailed out. You know,
And the rest of the people are okay. So, but we're gonna take this one industry at a time.
yeah.
Bring in our guest. We do have a guest this morning, Mr. Carlton. Good morning.
Good morning.
Mr. Carlton Pitts is from the beauty and barber industry. He's in Macon, Georgia, and we're going to talk specifically to talk about the beauty and barber industry to kind of let's kind of take this one industry at a time since we were one of the first industries to open. Mr. Carlton.
Yes. Well, let me just add to what was just said. We know that Georgia is number 2 in the coronavirus stress. It is rated number 2 with the highest level of stress concerning COVID-19. My family and I, we've been in business course over 25, 26 years. We own a beauty supply store as well as a barber and beauty shop. So we're tremendously affected by opening too soon and what goes on, which is one of the reasons why, I'm so adamant about trying to help provide PPEs and those items. People have to go back to work. I understand that, but we need to uh, go back to work right. We need to be provided those tools and equipment. For an example, there's not been any, even though the stylist is trained to sanitize and to clean, they have not been trained to sanitize and clean for coronavirus. That's a whole different ball game. So you can't write guidelines and give people fines for not abiding by those guidelines and fines. I think the state owed the barber and the beauties something. They owe them because they got a constricted depository account with the state in that they pay fines and fees. So it should not behoove the Secretary of State to invest in getting these individuals back to work. I think that we need to do all that we possibly can to help. And that's what I'm trying to do. One of the things that I was reading last night was a quote from Benjamin Franklin, something that he wrote in perilous times. He said that those who would give up essential liberties to purchase a short-lived temporary safety deserves neither. What came to my mind when I read that, I know that that has been taken out of context ever since he said it. So I kind of pivot on those words, and I like to say to our industry that those who have quietly given up their economic wellness, their tax money, and now their health for fake liberty would deserve neither. We've got to somehow figure out how to collectively come together and provide for our industry, provide for our people those bare essentials that will negate some of the lost lives. It's going to happen. It's a fact. You just can't go into this type of environment at this time and not sacrifice tremendously. It's going to be a tremendous sacrifice. So my desire is to, if we could form some kind of collective body so that we can come together and speak as one voice, which is why in all of my writing, I recommend that they come to concern, even the word concern, beauty and barber. I think that that's the starting point. We need to reach out to your organization, one that's been out there a while, one that has the capacity and the capability of teaching and training and organizing. There's others. We could use the Beauty Cultural League if they would come on board. Um, any individual, any organization that is concerned enough to get involved, that have the foresight to see what's about to happen. Forget about Kemp, Trump, and all of these people who are politically motivated and making decisions that's going to cost people that they consider of less value their lives. We're all people are valuable to the community and to us individually, and to any person who considers himself a Christian. So that's the thing that I'm working on. That's what I hope to inspire and hope to be involved in, and hope that somehow we're able to build.
We have to get PPEs to this industry. We have to have masks. We have to have face shields. I've actually seen professionals. I saw a post this morning. They're wearing face shields. Like, we need protective equipment. This is an industry where, particularly, I'm gonna speak to the Black community just for a second, in the beauty and barber industry. This is the economic engine. Our hair salons, our nail salons, our barbershops. This is the economic engine for the Black community, is the beauty and barber industry. And to have people that can't provide for themselves, those unemployment dollars aren't trickling down. They're not getting the unemployment. They're independent contractors. There's tax issues. There's a lot of things that are happening. These people aren't getting the resources that they need to sustain themselves and take care of their families. They're not getting the loans and the grants. They're not getting these resources aren't there. So how do you feed your family? This is an industry that had to go back to work. If the government was doing this right, we'd all have PPEs and we would all have the financial resources to sustain ourselves. But our government is not doing this right. We don't know where the PPEs are. I've heard that, this country sold some of them off a long time ago. So we need protective equipment. If we got 320 some odd millions, 328 million, almost 330 million people in the United States, we need 1 billion face masks. We need billions of face masks. There should be face masks, N95s being mailed to every American in this country. This is how we act. We be proactive, and we have to take these precautionary measures to stop the spread. David, they're already back to work.
Yeah,
now,
I
had a mask. That would be a solution. That would block 95% of the particles.
Well, it's I hear what you're saying, and I do understand this, that in effect, that's one of the things that's going on, is that everybody is competing over the personal protective equipment. There's no federal coordination because of Trump, and there's some people who are making huge profits off of this. I think Carlton is absolutely right. We're going to have to mobilize from the bottom up, and your industry is I hear everything that you're saying, and I don't see any simple solution, except that what Carlton is saying makes a lot of sense. There has to be an organization, a grassroots organization of people who are in the industry, who are going to fight for the safety of the people who are doing the work, and also for the economic protection that, as you were saying, this is a really crucial part of the economy in the Black community. So it's not enough to simply say, well, we're going to have a rent moratorium and you'll pay the rent, after 3 months, you'll still owe the rent to the landlord. So, landlords are going to be making the big landlords, are going to be making a lot of money off of this bailout. The Fed is sending trillions, literally trillions of dollars to Wall Street through the what they do, which is to create money. When Biden and the moderate Democrats like Klobuchar said that we can't afford universal health care, Medicare for all, it was much less money than what they've been shoveling out in the last month. So those are the kinds of things that we have to keep in mind. I cannot say what to do in an industry like beauty and barber when there are the hospitals and the nursing homes and the prisons and the meatpacking industry don't have PPE themselves. So
this is where it falls into the hands of our government. This is where government needs to have ramped up production in this country, and there should be no competition. They should be getting out as many masks as possible to every American.
And when you think about it, this is part of the erosion of the manufacturing base in the United States that's been going on for 30 years. That is really a direct result. I mean, all I can do here is connect the dots, and one of the big dots, one of the sequences of dots that's really crucial to the way that manufacturing has been hollowed out in this country is that because we don't have universal health insurance, the costs of paying for industrial workers, for manufacturing workers, are much higher than manufacturing producers, corporations can afford. If you've got high wage workers, their health insurance is a much smaller portion of their salary than low wage workers. So naturally, one of the healthcare system is driving manufacturing out of this country. The whole way that the healthcare system is working has worked over the last 30 years. So and that comes around to bite us in the butt when you can't get a manufacturing base to do the work of producing something as simple as as face masks and face shields. I mean, there are people who are doing this on 3D printers. So and that about undocumented workers as well is that comment that jumped across the screen. I mean, we are everything has changed and nothing has changed. I mean, that's the kind of the situation that we're in. And if it's hard for people to see it. I mean, I look at Kemp and I mean, he's a sociopath. If he's either criminally negligent or he knows what he's doing. So, and this is the pattern for Republicans in the South, and
But let me tell you what scares, David, what scares Black people the most. Let me tell you, this is what will happen if we have people that can't feed their families and can't survive this financially. This is where crime will come in. You'll have more crime, and you'll have people that are robbing and stealing to survive. Then what happens? You're going to get shot or you're going to be in prison. So it's like we have to be mindful that we have to work to survive. Black people in Georgia that are going back to work in these salons and barbershops. Carlton, you want to speak to the history of, I know you have a lot of historical knowledge about where this industry came from and how we were a part of the civil rights movement. Like this is such an anchor. It is such an anchor.
Well, as some people may know and may not know, that one of the first checks that Dr. Martin Luther King received in his preparation for his trip to Salem for the bus barb cart came from a hairstylist. We know that two of the most wealthy is first millionaires in the industry was Madam Annie Malone and Madam C.J. Walker. Well, we also understand that the only social place outside of the church, where the church was not a place that we discussed economics, that was a place that you discussed spirituality, or supposedly to a larger scale. But the barbers and the beauty shops were the places that you learned how to purchase a car. You learned how to purchase a home. You learned about writing a check and budgeting. There was a time when the only place that you could go for dental services or surgery was the barbershop and the beauty parlors. So for our community, for the Black community, these have been the nucleus. This has been the strength of what keeps us growing. You could take an average individual who didn't graduate from Georgia or Mercer or some of your other institutions and could make a substantial living, $67,000 a year to support their families and their cousins and their mothers and their fathers. Not a lot of money, but it's a lot of money to a poor community when you're making that type of money. And the average person who gets a trade, whether they get it in the kitchen, whether they get it in the schools, wherever they may get it, they're able to earn a decent living. You're able to close your windows and not have to lock your doors. Those were the times when the beauty and the barber industry was the backbone. Even now, we're talking about a over $532 billion annually industry. When you look at the whole industry, talking about cosmetic, hair, nails, the whole industry. Now, you generate that kind of monies in a capitalistic society, and you can't expect PPEs. You can't expect the assistance and the help to keep your community together, growing, to save lives when you're so short-sighted. To me, that's disturbing. One of the things, of course, I don't lay the blame at the feet of the institution totally. We've got a little part in this too. And now's an opportunity because now you'll see wealth shift. There will be a shift in wealth. Whether we left out or not is left up to us. We still have what is strong in our community, and that's the barber and the beauty industry. So we still have an opportunity here, not just an opportunity to go out there and willy-nilly do hair or nails or the other things or swim while somebody peeing in the pool. We have an opportunity here to generate and move some of that wealth towards our industry and our community. But it's going to take unity. It's going to take Black barbers and stylists reinvesting in themselves. We know it's going to be out there. The pimp's going to come. People going to pimp off for the community. In fact, a lot of my acquaintances and friends have already offered masks at $4 a piece. I don't know how many of them they think I could buy at that price. Face shield, thermometers for temperature taking. I mean, these things on a low scale have been offered, and I think they're piffling when you offer them to me at those prices. So to those friends, I say, miss me this time. We're in a pandemic, so miss me. You've got groups of individuals who have the resources and enough to invest in the community because they wouldn't have anything had it not been for the industry and the people. So let's come together with these people. You got, and I'm gonna call names. You got people who, the McBrides, the Broners, people who are influential and who have limited. I'm not saying they have great resources, but they have limited resources. And you can increase your resources by simply investing back into the community. It ain't always about a profit. but just investing in the people who have brought you. Dance with the girl that you brought to the party. Get the first and the last dance. She can have a good time in between all that, but get the first and the last dance because you brought her to the party. So, I'm asking these people to look at um, a black barber and beauty or people reinvestment fund so that those funds can be used for purchasing. Now, I know that there's a lot of industry who need these equipment. I also know that the equipment is going to be made available to those who have the right support and the right monies to purchase them. That's just what a capitalistic society does. And we will be left out if we don't come up with the resource, come up with the unity, come up with the connection to get those necessary life-saving items and equipment. So to those individuals, I hope are listening, who are concerned enough, to actually get involved. Don't look at the industry as non-taxpaying or non-investment in the states and in the union. Look at it as we all connected. Because like I always like to say, if a person builds the Taj Mahal across the street from you and you have a pig pen, well, as beautiful as that Taj Mahal may be, you ain't gonna be able to utilize the outside because you still got the pig pen. So what we can do with the pig pen, if the pig pen don't have to go, you could build a fence. So when you come outside, you don't see it, but you may smell it. So here's where we could do a little cleaning. You can invest in helping clean it because they do have clean pig pens, using the analogy of the pig pen. So don't set up on your on high horses at this time, I think. And again, it's just what I think. Invest in the community and in that which have brought you what you have, brought you the wealth. Don't pimp the people right now. I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm sorry, that was my fault. So if
Okay.
saying that David, if you don't know David, everybody, David is always talks about race, racism, and race relations. He has we really go there, and I always appreciate David for telling the honest truth. David was this white stylist that was going back to work, and I saw it on the news just the other day, and she was saying that over her Friday and Saturday, she said that she would have 23 clients. That's a lot of clients, David. In first of all, in 2 days, that's a lot of clients. So there's a lot of protocol and practices and procedures that we have to change. We adopt as beauty and barber professionals. We can't have people. And there's guidelines. I actually have a statement from our board chair. Her name is Kay Kendrick here in Georgia. And she put out a statement and we have 95,000 licensees here in her statement. And she goes on to say, as the chair of the Georgia Cosmetology and Barber Board, I'm very happy that our governor has decided that we can reopen our salons and spas. We have 95,000 licensees under our board, and most of them are independent contractors that have no other source of income. Under our sanitation laws and rules, we are charged with the responsibility of protecting the consumer from the spread of contagious diseases every day in our salons. By adding the safety guidelines that have been developed by the board and some of our industry leaders in the cosmetology and barber profession, we feel like our professionals will be able to do an even better job of protecting themselves and their clients. The most important steps are to wear a mask, ask your clients to wear a mask and stay home if they are ill. Wash hands between each client, disinfect your work area and tools after each client, and limit the number of people you allow into the salon at one time. I trust that our professionals will use the guidelines to protect their clients and be safe. And she goes on to say a list of the safety guidelines will be made available on the state Cosmetology and Barber Board website. Her name is Kay Kendrick. We needed to go back to work, David. I know that we started out and you're feeling away. I'm sure you still feel like, this is bad. It is. It's not good. It's not good at all. But I can tell you that the beauty and barber industry, licensed, and let me be real clear, because a lot of people go to facilities and they're not looking for license. First of all, when you walk into a facility, you need to look for a license. That's the first thing you need to look for as a client when you walk in. Make sure your professional is licensed. Do you know here in Georgia, and I hope y'all take this and spread the word. Do you know in Georgia, our braid salons and our weave salons and some other salons, no, the state has no jurisdiction over them. So they are not licensed facilities. These are not licensed professionals. They have business license. They can open, but a lot of your braid salons and your weave salons do not, these are not licensed professionals. So you need, the first thing you walk in the door that you need to do as a client is look for a professional license. That means that the state has jurisdiction. The state can come in and inspect. They can shut them down if they're not doing what they're supposed to do. So always look for a license. The second thing is to look for some sort of some training, some additional training. The state of Georgia requires that all beauty and barber professionals get 5 hours of continuing education every other year. I can tell you, because this is where I started my efforts, that a lot of beauty and barber professionals aren't doing it. So when you walk in there, look for some credentialing. See if they have something that they've taken some additional classes and they have some continuing education credits behind them, because I'm telling you, they're not staying up on their health and safety. One quick story before I go into another point. I was talking to a guy who was saying he wants to go back and get his hair cut, but he was a little, concerned about going back into a barbershop. And he mentioned to me, he said, yeah, you know that green stuff over in the jar that they use to clean? I said, green? He said, yeah, the green stuff. I said, it's supposed to be blue, not green. So I can just tell you, a lot of our beauty and barber professionals, and Carlton, you know this as a supplier, that they're not using the barbicide correctly, if they're using it at all. They're not doing disinfecting and sanitizing. Be mindful, pay attention. Now it becomes your responsibility as a client that when you walk into a salon and barbershop, that you hold these people accountable. And I know a lot of times we have these personal relationships with our stylists and our barbers. We're friends. We're like family. We need to leave that at the door. And when you go in, remember that you are a client first, and they are there to protect your health and protect your safety. So hold them accountable. Look for the license, look for continuing education, and wear a mask. I'm encouraging the N95 for everybody, but wear a mask. Wear some sort of protective covering over your face. Wear a mask. Make sure your client, your stylist or barber is wearing a mask, and you're wearing a mask. Everybody around you should be have on a mask as well. Make sure that your professional is washing their hands, sanitizing their hands. If they got on a short sleeve, sanitizing and washing their forearms. You want to know that they're washing their hands before they're touching you. Make sure they're wearing gloves. Just because you're wearing gloves, and see, a lot of people think, well, if I wear gloves, I don't have to wash my hands. I need you to take those gloves off. I need you to wash your hands, because I need you to change those gloves every single time. So be mindful and pay attention to everything that they're doing. Make sure that they're sanitizing, disinfecting and sanitizing those stations, wiping down equipment, wiping down chairs, those capes that they put on you. Carlton and I talked about disposable capes possibly being available to our industry, but at least they're washing them. They need to have a collection of capes and towels. Make sure those things are not being reused. Don't let them put a cape back on you that they just took off somebody else. You want to see a clean, folded cape that's obviously been washed. You want to make sure that they're using clean capes on you and clean towels at all times. Just be mindful to pay attention. Those are the things you need to pay attention for. All of this is on our website. We just have to now start taking these extra precautions, because we have to get back to work. Egberto Willies is in the house. We're going to bring him in and give us a quick national update. Good morning, Egberto.
Good morning. I don't know if I need to give my national update after hearing all of that.
Give us something, Egberto.
Let me put it this way. I think because of our social safety net nationally, that we are putting our people at risk. I think we're putting you and your whole industry at risk because of our social safety net. We are asking all of you to go back to work because you have to go back to work for financial reasons. The sad thing about it is, if you go back to work, while I think some in the industries will follow all the rules, too many won't. We all know that. And the problem with infections on a disease that nobody has a vaccine, nobody really knows all the implications with it, is that all the people that make a mistake isn't a mistake for them only. It's a mistake for you. It's a mistake for me. It's a mistake for everybody else. If this were a different thing, I would be 100% in agreement with your governor that says these people need to make a living. I think what these people really need to be doing is, personally, I think the 95,000 licensees that are barbers and beauticians are safer putting a mask on, marching down to your capital and forcing them to give the proper type of a social safety net for you than to have you going in every day and putting yourself at risk. Because here's the thing, Black people, and let's talk about Black people and Latinos right now, because we are so far down with respect to healthcare, with respect to all these other issues. Corona really hits us hard. Corona is not only about pneumonia. Corona is also about blood clots. Corona is about all these other things that hurt us more because of the conditions that we prevalent for. So now, what we're going to do, I'll be honest. I looked at folks and I says, we want to reduce the amount of beauticians and barbers and those people that we need, put them out to work earlier. Because if doctors are dying right now, doctors who know how to take care of themselves, if nurses are dying right now, who know how to take care of themselves, I am very, very concerned about my brothers and sisters that are going out there to work right now. And I understand what Senator Tamara is saying right now. I really, really do. But they're asking us to either work to survive for a short time or not work to be in problems, but ultimately to die. And that is my biggest concern. We're not going to know we're not going to know if what I'm talking is crap right now, right? We'll know if everybody followed the rules in the next 30 days. For those who went back to work, we are going to know it. But by the time we know it, it may be too late. So we're in a tough spot. We're in a very, very tough spot. And the truth of the matter is, Tamara, you're absolutely right, in my humble opinion. These people, a lot of them don't have any recourse. But we should be fighting for that they don't have any recourse. And unfortunately, now let's speak about Black people. As Black people, we have to start making the right choices. So far, beginning with South Carolina, and I don't want to sound snobbish about that, we've made horrendous choices, because nothing of the choices that we've made thus far would have made the lives of those beauticians any better for any of the policies any of the parties are talking to. And with that, I'll shut up and say thank you so kindly for having me on your show.
You can find Egberto Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. This man is everywhere. Politics Done Right with Egberto Willies.
Let me just say one last thing. I want to thank you all for this program, because the topics that Tamara so presently said about where the beauticians and all the cosmetologists and all these people are, it's true. But also what David said is true. The governor is a psychopath. If he really wanted to help people out, he would go to his friend Donald Trump and says, let's go ahead. If we could have given $1.5 billion to the corporations, we can help out all those independent contractors with another $5.5 trillion, which would have paid them for a whole year. Thank you so kindly.
Thank you, Egberto. Have a great one. We're in a tough place, and there is no one answer. There is no right answer. We're just in a place, and we're all trying to figure out how to navigate this new space that we're in. David. I can say it again, David.
Yeah. Yes, that is, I think, Egberto really summed it up. And this is a situation that is not, it's like they talk about natural disasters, right? Um, and there practically are no such things as natural disasters. There are events that happen, um, and the response from people, from the institutions and the structures of government and private business are uh, are the things that either cause a disaster to be deepened and turned into a crisis, or really resolve the issues, and really give people some help. But the fact of uh, I mean, we do not yet have a um, uh, a network of solidarity that is going to be able to prevent these people from getting away with profiting from from the crisis. I mean, this is disaster capitalism, um, and I think Carlton is absolutely right that we must depend on ourselves for European Americans to understand the pressures that are on the Black community, and to stand together with the Black community is really going to be crucial. And that means that white uh, beauty and barber, businesses be in coordination with, Black beauty and barber businesses. Um, it may mean things like, for example, Emory University. Emory University Hospital has almost all the hospitals in the Atlanta metro area are now part of the Emory University Hospital system. Maybe there is some kind of coordination that could be done, because Emory has 100,000. Emory Hospital has probably 100,000 employees at this point. Almost every hospital in the city is now um, under the organization now of Emory Healthcare, and we need to find some way to coordinate this, all of these efforts, so that Emory has some role to play, possibly in supporting the industry. So uh,
So let me
it's
tell you how, let's talk solutions, because I'm always wondering, I'm like, where's the solution to this? How do we solve this? What can we do? And it's going to take all of us. It's going to take a collaborative, collective, ground, bottom up, approach. It's going to take all of us. So our organization, the Concerned Beauty and Professionals, we have an 844 number, David, that we've had since 2017 that we have yet to use. And now I understand now why we had it for so long and we kept it. So the number is 844 SAFE BB. And this is where we're really going to start to help to navigate people who've been injured in salons and barbershops, and who have experienced any adverse health reaction, whether it be the client or the professional. Or if you don't feel safe, we have a phone number now, and we're holding our beauty and barber professionals to a standard, and we're going to reach out to those professionals. We are not attorneys, y'all. We are beauty and barber professionals, fellow professionals who are going to work to make sure that we correct problems so that we can make sure we save people, save our industry, and just make sure we're doing all we can. There is no one answer to this. We need PPEs. Prayerfully we get them as soon as possible. That's what Carlton and I have been collaborating on, to figure out how we get the resources and how we work together with other entities to bring together what it will take to bring PPEs to this industry. People are going to work. People were, David, I heard through the grapevine prior to the Kemp even opening up our state that people were still working. And my ear is to the ground nationally. So I wasn't just hearing that here in Georgia, people were still working. People were still working nationally in the beauty and barber industry. People were still getting their hair done. People Still, people were still making house calls. People were still doing stuff across this country. So we really didn't shut down. There was a lot of people still doing stuff. Now we're legally able to open here in Georgia. We're going to do all we can to keep people safe. Carlton, you want to chime in?
Well, just to kind of echo what David said, I really appreciate that. And of course, what you're saying too, that the fact that this just doesn't affect us as white people, it affects the state and the country collectively. If we could, to state, the health department, CDC, could do something on Emory or Mercer here in Macon, Georgia, which has a large medical research facility and school. If those places would just chime in and offer on-site testing, maybe you don't contribute PPEs, but what you do offer is much like they offer to some extent site testing for high blood pressure, site testing for diabetes. Now would be an even greater time, or even better time to have site testing for coronavirus. Those are things that could be orchestrated by the health department, by the Secretary of State, by those agencies who have some influence and some input into these institutions. If you could offer that, and because we're all affected, people say, well, just stay at home. You got the choice. That's like saying, well, HIV is out there, just don't do it. You don't need to give people condoms. Or, heroin is out there, people who use it, who shoot heroin, don't give them clean needles, just let them shoot it till they all die. That's an inhumane way to look at social problems, where there's a possible solution to not try to seek that solution and contribute it to finding even a greater solution. It's just simply inhumane. And you can't call yourself a humane society when you continually act inhumane. So people in positions, I've been in contact with members of the Black Caucus. I'm hoping that they will see fit to contribute, to get involved. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But I'm not above asking anybody to help this industry, no matter who him or she is. I'm not above asking them. And like you said, now it's not a time for blame. Now it's not a time to say you, him, her. No. It just ain't time for that. I think that now's the time for you to do something. If you can do something, anything, individually, then that's a positive contribution to a problem that we all need to find a solution for.
David?
Yeah, Carlton, I think, everything that you're saying, I so appreciate. I so appreciate the history and the understanding of what role the barbershops and salons have been playing since even before the civil rights era. About providing places for Black people to get the kind of information that has been withheld from them deliberately. This is all really part of the way that Jim Crow operated to prevent Black people from getting any of the access to credit, to even bank accounts, and I think that's a really important issue. And the other issue about figuring out ways to do something, I'm really in agreement about that, and using the resources that we have available. I think it's really important. There have only been in Georgia, 1% of the population has been tested, and if we don't learn to work together, it's in the interests of the Emory healthcare system to not be overwhelmed, And we really have an incredible set of competing interests here, that my sense is the Republicans just don't want to spend the money on unemployment insurance. You know, it really, or small business grants, because in the South, in the in Georgia, a lot of that money will go to black people. And if we're not, and that's not their constituency, as far as just the simple politics of it, or that they really don't care. And the question is, what does what does the black establishment do in these circumstances? Where is the state leadership going to come from? Um, from within the black community, that's going to take some leadership and say, look, this is putting people in an impossible situation. Um, there have to be, how do we find accountability for all of these, the $340 billion additional, uh, uh, paycheck protection plan money that's supposed to be distributed. Um, you know, we know already that large businesses have gotten hundreds of millions of dollars from that, um, and we need to put some pressure on the folks that can really be influential. Don Lewis, Hank Johnson, um, you know, uh, Lucy McBath, you know, and yeah, I mean, that's and Stacey Abrams, you know, these are people who,
David, I wish they would help. And if anybody is watching this and they have a voice and they have an ear to those people, I wish they would help. But a lot of this is so political, David, that
yeah,
they don't want to be involved, and they're going to stand on the outside and they say stay home when
yeah,
people can't stay home, instead of saying how do I help. And this is what Carlton is saying, how reaching out to these legislators, reaching out to the Black Caucus. you know the Black Caucus, more than anything, should understand that Black people have to work, else Black people don't eat. Because the federal government, like I said, this unemployment, these loans, none of this is going down. So the Black Caucus, more than anything, should be like on fire with finding PPEs and not telling people just to stay home, because they're not going to stay home and starve and not be able to provide for themselves and feed their families. They're not going to do it.
well, guess what? Stacey Abrams and Lucy McBath are going to be on some kind of show at 1 p.m. today, and maybe people should call into that and say, "What are you doing about this thing?" Stacey Abrams has already said that Kemp is you know I mean, she said it was, I can't remember what her words were, but that it was really, really criminally negligent for him to be
Carlton, you want
doing
to
that.
chime in?
I want to add to that to show you how simple it could possibly be. You've got Austin Scott, a white Republican, and Sanford Bishop, a black Democrat, came together and got over 500, and is pending for the Okmulgee Mound in Macon, Georgia, which the numbers may not be exact, but I think it was somewhere around $560 million to expand that. So these politicians, when they want to and desire to, for purpose, political purpose and other purposes, can come together and achieve objectives that will benefit the groups in which they seek it for. Now, this will turn to a 600 plus acre park, the Okmulgee Mine, which is a beautiful mine, and it's going to add a lot of revenue and beauty to the city of Macon. But if just these two legislators, and I've also witnessed legislators who got together and did things from different parties and different lines, and from the Senate and from the House. I think that people need to remember, one of the things that we need to do more than anything else is remember your friends. You've got some people who are your friends and who are not. Don't choose them by their color. Don't choose them by their like of ideology, but choose them by their willingness to serve you in the community. I think that we make a mistake when we miss that opportunity. When people know that you are emotionally geared towards one thing or another by stimulating you and sticking pins in you this way and that way, but really do nothing for you, do nothing for your community. While we work through this pandemic, I simply ask people, remember your friend.
Absolutely. Absolutely. David?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, Carlton, and I do think that I don't know where the initiative comes from, but uh, I think one of the places to start might be this show that Stacey Abrams and Lucy McBath are doing in an hour, um, and really ask them how they can build a uh, a protective movement that is going to be give uh, the Black community equal protection, in the
Well, first,
face
I
of.
want them to say the word black, David. I want both of them to say the word black. And I want them to use the word black
Yeah.
people and speak specifically to black people.
Yes. Yeah.
Because neither of
Absolutely.
them, I've never heard either of them say black people.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, uh, I'm the it's close to the top of the hour, so it's not. This is not a place to get into a whole long discourse, but the issue really is that how do we get to universality? How do we get to a community in which people are that who are, you know, really given equal treatment? There's no other way to do it but to fight for the so-called special interests of Black people in these circumstances. I mean, ADOS is just an expanded version of affirmative action. It is the reversal of historical, inequalities that have perpetuated over generations, and you can't say that. I mean, there's a Black uh, uh, minister who said, that equality doesn't happen when you find out that the umpire has been favoring one side in a baseball game in the eighth inning, and you say, okay, well, we won't do that anymore. That does not work, right? There's something that has to be there's a reparation. There's an affirmative thing that must be done. If the white team has got 9 runs and the Black team has one run at the bottom of the eighth inning, um, uh, you know, and you find out that the umpire's been favoring the white team. Uh, you can't simply say, oh, okay, well, that we won't do that anymore, right? Um, and I just don't see the any logic to the way that people are saying, and this includes the Sanders campaign and the Democratic Socialists. What they are ultimately saying is that, okay, well, we'll start from here, as if the history makes no difference, and that's where I think we're really losing each other in the politics. Uh,
Yeah.
that there isn't a sense that there has to be a historical readjustment, and only through that means are European Americans going to be able to uh, find the kinds of of uh, um, of social system that is just and will work for them, not just for Black people. Um,
But it
but
works for all of us. David, right? Solidarity. That's been your word that you've been ever since 2018 when you and I started doing this broadcast together. That's all we've talked about is building solidarity amongst the races.
Well, and the thing is that solidarity doesn't happen the everybody when the white people say, "Oh, okay, let's just do it all over now." Solidarity has got to work when you say, "Okay, I acknowledge that there is a historic inequality, not just structural, but historic inequality that's been perpetuated." And that the first step of solidarity is to take the foot off of the neck of the people who are being, stomped on. And
We can find, we're at the top of the hour, David. We're gonna give you that last word. Carlton
okay.
Pitts out in Macon, Carbell's Beauty Supply. Am I saying that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yep. He is working with our organization, the Concerned Beauty and Barber Professionals, Fix Beauty and Barber, to find us what we need as far as protective equipment. We're working diligently to make sure this industry is protected. I am Tamara Johnson Shealey. I am a candidate for the United States Senate, and I am determined to take all of our issues to Washington. David,
Yes.
and acknowledge the divide right here on Facebook. David, same time, same channel, next Saturday.
Yeah, always power to
Always.
the people.
Power to the people. Have a good week, everybody.
Thank you, Carlton, for your contribution.
Thank you. Thank you, Tamara.